Hey everyone, it's Bobby here with VU Financial and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the three types of RDSP withdrawals. Before we get into the types of withdrawals, there is a very important rule that we have to discuss to get a sense of the framework of why these restrictions exist. Prior to 2014, there was a rule called the 10-year rule, and why it was called the 10-year rule is because any grants and bonds deposited in the last 10 years were subject to repayment. If you withdrew $1, then all of the grants and bonds would have to be repaid. That was such a punitive rule that the government decided to make a change, and what they did is they modified it. Now it is called the proportional repayment rule. What this means is that any grants and bonds deposited in the last 10 years are subject to repayment and is what we call the assistance holdback amount. And if you made a withdrawal, for every $1 of withdrawal, $3 of grants and bonds would have to be repaid. So for an example, if you decided to withdraw $1,000, you would have to pay back $3,000 of the grants and bonds. It kind of defeats the purpose of having the account, but circumstances change and at least not the whole thing is having to be repaid. So having said that, let's get to it and discuss the three types of withdrawals. Option number one is a bit of a secret, and it may not be, that you could actually take out the entire account in one shot as long as you've contributed more than the government has put in terms of grants and bonds. This is what we call a non-PGAP, a non-primarily government assisted plan. So in this situation, you have full flexibility. It might not be the best idea to take out all that money because there's tax implications, as well as it's designed for a longer period of time, but you do have that option. Option number two is under what we call a PGAP, a primarily government assisted plan. So the contributions are less than what the government has put in, which is probably most of the cases. So follow the timeline here. At the year you turn age 60, before the end of the calendar year, you must take a minimum withdrawal. This minimum withdrawal is called a lifetime disability assistance payment. It is LDAP. This is subject to a formula that is created by the CRA. I'm going to simplify it, but we're going to put a link below so that you know the exact formula. Thankfully, your financial institution, a CRA, will tell you what the numbers are. And how it works is that you take age 83 minus the age you are on January 1st. Most of us aren't born on January 1st, so it'll be age 59. So 83 minus 59 is 24. You take the fair market value of your assets on January 1st divided by 24, and that's the minimum amount that you have to take out in the year you turn 60. Hope that made sense, but if you have any questions, feel free to comment and I'll be happy to answer those questions as well. Now, option three is for lump sums and ad hoc withdrawals. This is what we call the disability assistance payment, the DAP. And so this can happen at any age, but in particular, if you are under age 59, you get the choice. It is what we call the specified amount, 10% of the fair market value on January 1st, or what we previously discussed, the LDAP formula. And of course, if you're younger, the LDAP amount is going to be significantly less than if you were at age 60. After age 59, you will be starting your LDAP. So that 10% is reduced by the LDAP. So for the DAP, you would get the difference between 10% and the LDAP. So the lump sum is much smaller. The other couple of things I wanted to talk about is the tax implications. Withdrawals do have taxes associated with it. The good thing is that all the contributions that you put in, totally tax-free, you don't pay taxes on it. The portion that is taxable, this would include the government grants, the bonds, growth and interest, RESP rollovers, RRSP rollovers. All of that is taxable in the hands of the beneficiary in the year of withdrawal. So it is proportional. So depending on if your contributions were 10% of the fair market value, then the withdrawal would have 10% tax-free, 90% taxable. The last thing I wanted to mention is that a question that I get quite often is that what happens if my child has a shortened life expectancy or is terminal? This is basically what happens, in the unfortunate circumstances. If a doctor has certified the beneficiary as having less than 5 years to live, there are a couple of options. So option one is to leave the RDSP basically as is. So this is what we call a specified year. You can still deposit and get grants and bonds, and there would still be carry forward. The benefit that you receive is that you could take out the entire account. However, the proportional repayment rule is still in effect. So any grants and bonds deposited in the last 10 years are subject to repayment at that 3-to-1 ratio. The other option you have is that if you make an election to change the RDSP into what we call a specified disability savings plan, an SDSP, this means that you cap the account. You can't contribute to it. You get no further grants and bonds, and there's no carry forward. However, the benefit is that you can access all the grants and bonds within the last 10 years, and there's no repayment. There's no proportional repayment rule. You are capped at $10,000 of taxable, and then you also get the associated contributions with that are, of course, tax-free. Now, they do compare that to the LDAP formula. If the LDAP formula results in more than $10,000, then you can take out the whole thing. So again, you have two choices there, and you have two choices if your child or the beneficiary is certified as terminal. I hope that you found this video valuable, and if you know someone that might find it valuable as well, feel free to share it. It would be great for them to have that information. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the notification bell, and subscribe so that you know when we come out with new videos. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.